Did you guys know that you can literally play frogs with anything? And did you also know that Dijin, yes, the Dijin that was broken in Necros format in 2015 is also legal in Edison format? So I was honestly sitting around a few nights ago and I put 10 frog monsters, the usual 10, in a deck list and wanted to build something cool, creative, unique that I haven't really seen explored in Edison. So I came across Relinquished, which he's a level 1 ritual monster that works really, really well with treeborn frog, battle fader, and substitute, just a lot of different things. So when I was looking in the card pool for Edison, I came across all the Dijin monsters and they were legal. And plus, this works really well just because you can use it as one tribute, and it also gets to be used again for a ritual summon if it's in the graveyard. It was super convenient. I played a couple different lists, I guess, before I landed on this. Before playing Treacherous, I was playing Mirror Force and Torrential, but really didn't like how they're performing because sometimes they would get stuck in the back row, and you already have this kind of interaction with Relinquished where if it takes a monster, you can't bring back Treeborn. So usually when you're summoning Relinquished, it's to try to go for game, do big pushes, or just lock your opponent out of the game so you can win. So this is my list, guys. It's 3 Swap Frog, 3 Substitute, 2 Dupe Frog, 2 Treeborn, our standard frog package, triple Caius, of course, best Monarch, triple Relinquished, double Battle Fader, and double Manju. So I'm already playing 3 Caius, 3 Ryza, our frogs. So I didn't really want to go with 3 Manju, so I went with 2. I think 2 is a good number, especially since we're playing, 3 Relinquished. We have 1 of the ritual spell and double Prep. Prep is like a card that you can see in the early game to get you to a Relinquished. It's especially good if you open both, because then you get each piece. Or in the late game, this card is always going to be a +1 because it's going to grab your Relinquished and then get this back from graveyard most of the time. So Prep is honestly a good card, and it's something you could consider playing 3 of even. If you did that, I would recommend probably dropping Manju down to 1 copy. Just because this card is better than this card, it doesn't waste your normal summon. Yeah, this is a 1400 body, but the biggest issue with Manju is leaving it on board makes you vulnerable to recruiters such as Shining Angel and Mystic Tomato, which is really unfortunate if they summon that and attack, which has happened in some of my testing. Not that often, but it does happen. You'd almost certainly always rather normal summon Swap Frog over this, but it does work in this deck. And then we played the 3 Ryza. I did play 2 at first. I was main decking Dark Dust Spirit, which I do like that card, but it's just some matchups it's not that great against. So yeah, I think 3 Ryza is just better. I played the Dijin, of course, for our Relinquished. This card is literally Archlord Christia, but just for your opponent, so it's one-sided. It's really broken. 1 Black Illusion Ritual. You only need 1 because you have Prep to grab this card back, and this card is a brick for sure, especially opening this card without this. And I will say that if you ever are normal summoning Manju, unless you already have this in your hand, this is what you're grabbing every time, because we only play 1 of this, but we play 3 of this, so it's going to be harder to draw into this compared to Relinquished. We play 1 copy of Gores and 1 copy of Trag. These are insulation against OTKs, just keeps us alive. They're big bodies, and they do what we need them to do. And Tragodia also, if you have to ever get in a situation where you drop a 1800 or less Trag, he's kind of weak, it's just to kind of save yourself from dying, you can make Trag level 1, and you can sack it for Black Illusion Ritual. But honestly, it doesn't matter, because this can be anything, but just cool, I guess, that Trag's level manipulation can work in a different sense. We do play triple enemy controller. You're going to be using this deck kind of stealing your opponent's monsters and then using them for fodder to summon your bigger guys. You can take something, you can sack it away for Relinquished, for Caius, for Ryza, even 2 double tribute cards like Gores. So Econ is super good in this deck. Heavy Storm, of course, in our 1-for-1 to do Dupe Block. Lure of Darkness. We play a lot of Darks in here. We play 3 Caius, this, Relinquished. So Allure's pretty good in here. 1 copy of MST, of course. Double creature swap, this is to summon back Treeborn, and this kind of supplements the place of like summoning a Monarch for the turn, because you just give them Treeborn and take their big guy. You can beat over Treeborn, and then if they have like a back row or like a set monster, then you can, you know, sack their guy for Caius or Ryza and put that back on top of the deck. It keeps them behind, and then they're never really able to come back from that. 2 Preparation of Rites, of course. This is probably one of the best spell cards in our deck because, again, it can be a +1 later in the game. You'll find playing this deck as the game goes on longer, this deck gets scarier and scarier. If you play against this, you kind of have to try to end the game as quickly as possible, because if this game goes longer than like 5 turns, then this deck starts to get very scary because your frogs will be out of deck, and then you are just drawing into monarchs and rituals and gores and trag and all these good spell cards. Then we play Brain Control and Treacherous, of course. In the side deck, we have 2 copies of Soul Exchange to tribute stuff like Christia, Fossil Dyna, or just pesky cards in general. Big monsters, set monsters. This card's really phenomenal. Consider playing 3 of this, possibly. The only thing I would probably slim down is maybe cut Crow to 2 if I played a 3rd. Double Book of Moon, again, this deals with like Fossil Dyna and problematic monsters, such as Kaiku or Banisher. We can just kind of flip stuff down. So that's what this is for. We play Double My Body. This deals with cards like Icarus Attack and Deck Devastation Virus, which can be our worst enemy at times. Double Vanity's Fiend. This basically wins the mirror match for us and also can deal with stuff like Quick Draw, etc. Dark Dust Spirit. This is really good against decks like Blackwings and Heroes that kind of try to be really aggressive and put multiple monsters on board. They don't have a good way to answer this because like it doesn't really necessarily matter if you lose this out to like a bottomless or a deep prison, because you're literally summoning it and going plus because you're killing everything. It's literally torrential. Or Dark Hole, I should say. Triple DD Crow. This card is really good against like Heroes and the mirror match, zombies, Quick Draw. It's just in generic a good card against everything that has a graveyard reliant strategy. Triple Dust Tornado. I like this more than almost any other back row removal card, just because you set it and you can activate it. Super simple. Nothing else to it. The extra deck, we have Armory Arm, Android, Cataster, Goyo, Brio, Black Rose, Stardust, Colossal, Dark End, Thought Ruler, Red Dragon, Mistworm, Urbellum, Urquizus, and Chimera Tech. Super standard extra deck. Honestly, with this deck, you don't really ever make anything out of here. This is just for the chance that you Econ, Creature Swap, or Brain Control a tuner. But yeah, guys, that is the entire main deck. I do have 2 replays to show you guys. I have a couple more, but a lot of them, honestly, were really hard to get simply from people quitting out. Actually had a guy I Allure of Darkness and banished a Jhin, and he immediately quit. Not sure why that is. Maybe he just thought the card wasn't legal, or he was like, I don't want to play against something like that. But yeah. All right, so replay number 1 is a match against another frog deck. As you will see, I actually took the game, but rather interesting. Alright, so we have Gores, Treeborn, Relinquished, MST, Relinquished for our opening hand. Our opponent does nothing, so at this point I'm assuming he's maybe on a frog deck or has Gores in his hand. So I summon Manju. He's like, what the? It's probably pretty weird seeing a Manju. So I summon it, I get Black Illusion Ritual and set the Space Typhoon. He's going to summon Swap, so he is on frog. So he dumps the Treeborn, and then he bounces back to hand, sets a back row, and then we MST on the end phase. We draw into a second copy of Manju, and then summon that, and this will fetch us our last Relinquished. Pretty odd that I opened double. We're going to hit for 2,800, and then we're going to pass back to our opponent. So they're going to get Treeborn onto the field, and then they're going to sack their Treeborn to summon a Caius. Caius is going to banish a Manju, and then attack our other Manju. They're going to set a back row, and we draw Substitute for turn. Substitute is going to summon itself and tribute to summon Swap Frog. Swap Frog is going to then dump another Substitute, and we're going to bounce the swap back to hand. We then activate Black Illusion Ritual, sacking a treeborn to summon Relinquished. Relinquished is going to steal Caius. Opponent has a Space Typhoon when we go to attack, so our Relinquished is now back to 0, and we do no damage. Our opponent summons back Treeborn on their turn and banishes with Caius. Now here I'm debating, I could drop the Gores when he goes to swing, but I'd rather keep it until we get possibly lower. One more direct attack and we absolutely have to drop it. Main phase 2, our opponent is going to shuffle back the Swap Frogs. And then on our turn, we draw Brain Control, which actually is very convenient for us. We're going to bring back our Treeborn, and then we're going to Brain Control out Caius, swing for 24. Our opponent has nothing there. Main phase 2, we're going to sack both for Gores. Alright, on our opponent's turn, they're going to Brain Control our Gores, which I know it's over, so I scoop it up. So maybe if I did drop the Gores, I was in a better position there. Kind of hard to predict your opponent having Brain Control, though. But yeah, I didn't really have anything else going in my hand, so Gores was like my only play, which, yeah, if I dropped it, I beat over the Caius, but our opponent had Brain anyway, so don't think I was really doing much there. But we're going to start our hand with an Allure of Darkness. We go ahead and banish a Relinquish, so now we're left with Black Illusion Ritual, Caius, Creature Swap, Treeborn, Manju, and Swap Frog. So we are going to summon Swap Frog. Swap Frog is going to then dump us a copy of Treeborn Frog, and then we bounce back to hand. Our opponent summons a Swap Frog of their own. They're going to dump Treeborn, and then they bounce to hand. No attack, which I thought was strange. On our turn, we summon Manju, which is now going to fetch the Relinquished. We're going to attack for 1400 here. And then we're going to pitch to summon out Swap Frog. Swap's going to dump a Substitute, and then we bounce Swap Frog back to our hand. We did this so we could pass without discarding. It was worth just dumping another card out of deck. Our opponent draws, and in standby, they're going to bring back Treeborn Frog. They Moray of Greed to shuffle back. And then here, they're going to sack for Caius. We're going to take 2400 points of damage, which is fine. On our turn, we draw Djinn. Pretty interesting. We're going to stand by, bring back Treeborn, and then we're going to sack for Caius. We banish their Caius, and then we hit 434 total. Our opponent drops Gores, so in main 2, we go Black Illusion by sacking the Djinn to summon Relinquished, and then we take Gores. Now, there is an issue here, because our opponent still has a monster on the field, so if they have a Monarch, they have a Monarch, but, you know, what can we do? He just didn't understand that that card was legal. He was kind of amazed by it, but yeah. So, we're just kind of in a rough spot, simply because of what happened with the Gores. If this was a Trag, we're in a way better position, but of course, you know, our opponent has another Monarch, so our opponent has went through 2 Caiuses, basically, an opening hand. We lose our Relinquished out. And then they set a back row. On our turn, we pick up Preparation. So we're going to bring back Treeborn and standby. And then we creature swap our Treeborn. He then deck devs us. So that's rough. We're going to lose our swap and our Treeborn. Then we prep. We are going to grab Relinquished and Black Illusion Ritual. We then swing for 24 with Caius. Showing my opponent because he didn't know what we added, but it's pretty obvious. I'm just playing Relinquished. Our opponent sets a monster, which probably a dupe frog, as I'm guessing. So we had to get rid of our battle fader due to deck dev. And then we just summon the Caius. We banished the dupe and or banished our own Caius, and our opponent knows that's over because they're going to take 1,000. Here we have a pretty solid opening hand. We have a Caius, a Manju, a Prep, an Econ, and a Gors. Opponent's going to set a card face down, and we drew Vanity's Fiend. At this point, I'm like, okay, there's no way I can lose. I summon Manju. I get Black Illusion Ritual. And then I attack the face down, which happens to be treeborn. They bring back their treeborn and sack it for Caius, banish our Manju. We take 24 and we drop the Gors here. Our opponent Moray of Greeds. I'm just realizing our opponent only drew 2 cards here. That's unfortunate for them. Doesn't really matter though, because we definitely had game no matter what. So we're going to swing for 300. Our opponent has deck dev again, but our hand is full of tribute monsters. So he literally missed with the deck dev against frogs. Nuts. Main phase 2, we sack our token for Vanity's Fiend, and our opponent's just literally going to lose from here. We then have to pitch the crow from deck dev. We sack Gors. We banish their face down. We're going to swing for 4,800 total. Yeah, I don't know how our opponent wins. They set a monster, set a back row. Here we have to pitch the dupe due to deck dev. And then we attack. They threatening roar. Main 2, we sack our Caius for another Caius, and then they burn for 1,000 because we banish our guy. And then I don't know why he went to banish his guy when he's less than 1,000. Of course I was going to banish my own Caius. But then our opponent was like, dang, that's a killer hand. After this, I actually showed him my deck list and decided that he was going to also build a version similar. But yeah, I decided to show the opponent the entire deck and then sent him the list. We talked about it for a while. So wish there's more people like this in the Edison format that, you know, you could get along with and talk to and didn't quit every game. All right, so next game. So we start with double Rise, a swap, creature swap, brain control. Our opponent's going to set a monster and set 2 back row. Here we have Trag now. We summon swap to dump treeborn. Then we bounce our swap. We pass. Our opponent summons Kalut. We're going to take 1,400. I drop the Trag. Our opponent sets another back row. Here in standby, we are going to bring back treeborn. Our opponent Icarus's attack is yeah, that's a tongue twister. Icarus attacks us, which I figured there was an Icarus set, so this is why we brought back treeborn. I'm not pressed about it. Our hand is loaded. So we lose out. We activate brain control to try to take the Kalut, and our opponent compulses their own Kalut, which is fine with me. Go ahead, waste another card. We summon swap here. We dump swap, and we hit for 1,000, but our opponent has deprison. Sucks to lose our swap, but we still have a substitute in hand. Opponent summons Kalut. We take 14. They set a back row. Here we draw a Caius. So we're going to bring back our treeborn, and we sack to summon Caius and banish the Kalut. So they take 1,000, and then we're going to swing for 24. We lose out to a deprison. So we're still ahead on our card. We have treeborn coming back with 4 in hand, down to their 2 cards in hand. Well, now he summons Blizzard. Blizzard's going to get value. Thank God he doesn't have anything else to get. We're going to take 13 here, and then we draw Gors. In standby, we bring back treeborn, and then we're going to sack treeborn for Ryza. Ryza will put the value on top because we want our opponent to draw unplayable cards. So our Ryza gets bottomless. They draw a card. It's of course the value. So we're going to take 800, and then we drop the Gorse here because I don't want to take 13-2. That puts us in danger of one Colute killing us. So our opponent's going to kill our token. We draw, we get Relinquished. In standby, we bring back Treeborn. Our Treeborn gets sacked for the second Ryza. Ryza's going to put value on top again. And then we attack with Gorse here because if our opponent has Colute, it'll just crash them. So, best way to do it. Then we pass. We draw Econ. So we bring back the Treeborn. And here I summon Substitute. And I'm going to use the effect to go into dupe block, but our opponent just admits defeat. They've seen the writing on the wall. So this game is just kind of unfortunate. It was a really aggro game, and I lost out to Icarus pretty hard. I do think that I kind of screwed up here. So I get Dust Shooted. He takes and shuffles Dupe Frog back in the deck. So I'm going to set the MST here. Our opponent summons Colute and attacks for 14. What we should have done is MST on the Declaration of Bora, but we didn't. So we summon the Trag, and then they Icarus us. Unfortunate. So we draw a creature swap here. We have to pass again. Opponent summons Blizzard. I just scoop because there's just nothing we can do. Yeah, would have been in a way better spot if I MST'd there. I honestly think I probably could have pulled through, but that was just a horrible, horrible misplay. And yeah, that's the thing about me. I'm not afraid to admit it. So I set Treeborn. Our opponent Black Whirlwind, summon Shura to get Colute, and then they special Bora. They're going to attack with Shura, which they're going to get a value here, but I have Dark Dust Spirit, so I know whatever they put on the field is dying. So I drop the Trag here, and then I know he searched Colute, so he's going to use the Colute, which is totally fine by me. Main 2, he makes Android, and then he's going to set a back row. In standby, we're going to bring back the Treeborn, and then we're going to sack the Treeborn for our Dark Dust Spirit, and that's going to kill both monsters. We attack for 22. Opponent takes it. We set Dust Tornado, bounce the Dark Dust. Opponent draws. They summon Blizzard, and I'm going to use my Dust Tornado on the Whirlwind here so they don't get to grab a value to their hand. They bring back Bora. They make Armed Wing, and we take 23 here. Totally fine by me. Now, I draw my body, and so I have a couple different options here, but the one I go with I think was good. So I bring back the Treeborn and attack. Then I go to Creature Swap. Of course, that prompts the Icarus, because now I have to control 2 cards, which allows me to use my body. So I use that. Now I sack the Treeborn for the Caius. Caius banishes the last back row. And then we swing for 24. So I know our opponent has value in Arm Wing, so they're going to be able to make Armor Master, but we still have Dark Dust Spirit, so we don't care. So they make Armed Wing, or Armor Master. We take 100 here. And they set 2 more back rows. That's the whole thing about this match, is I've been trying to play through the back rows. That's why I did the Icarus way I did, because if I was staring down an Icarus now, it might be a little difficult. Oh, we bring back Treeborn. We sack the Treeborn for Dark Dust. That is going to hit that. We're going to attack for 22. Opponent's down to 18 at our 26, and then I bounce Dark Dust, and I pass. So, our opponent sets a 3rd back row, and then in standby we draw Heavy. They Dust Shoot us, which is really unfortunate. I figured, maybe he would have taken the Dark Dust Spirit, but he decides to take the Gores, which was a little strange. But in standby, we bring back Treeborn, and then we activate the Heavy, which of course is just game. So our opponent scoops it up. That's it. They had Compulse set, and I mean, either way, I had it. He could have at least tried to Compulse the Treeborn, because then I was forced to pitch Treeborn a special swap and then tribute for Dark Dust, but hey, it is what it is. Yeah, I realize I really messed up that game too, with the MST and the Trag, but happens to the best of us. I play a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh! And sometimes just kind of get in the moment and don't think about stuff, but happens to the best of us. But yeah, guys, this is the Relinquished Frog deck. I hope you guys enjoyed the content. Again, I will bring it up one more time just so you guys can get another view of it. So this is the deck. I recommend trying it out if you think this deck looks cool, looks interesting, looks fun. And don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. I'll keep making videos like this, and then also have some more market watches and advanced format content coming. Nomad out. Peace.